What's up, Diablo 4 SpiritBorn? Do you want to try out a new fun build? Well, this is what I'm going to be calling the BoomeRang SpiritBorn build. And the reason why it's going to be a newer build is because we got a nice buff in the mid-season update, and this is something that can be kind of fun. It is using Razor Wings, so that is a skill that is the boomerang. So you're going to be shooting it out, and it'll come back to wherever your character is at the moment. So that means that wherever you start casting it doesn't really matter. It's just wherever your character ends up, that is where the boomerangs will be returning to. So it's kind of cool. You can throw it out and then have positioning where it's going to hit all the enemies on the way back. And you definitely want to hit enemies on the way back because you're going to be getting more charges that way. So the reason why we're playing it now is because with the new update, we get 25% more on the base of the damage, and it no longer has a short cooldown between casts, so it's not as clunky, so it's a lot smoother to play. And so there is another node that you can get where it does make it spin around, but the spin around one doesn't give you another way to grant yourself charges, which is a huge deal. So make sure you pay attention to this video all the way through. Otherwise, you're going to be like, yo, Slaydra, I tried it out. I have 0 charges. How do you get your refreshes? So it's kind of key to pay attention to the build guide here. So for starters, let's go over the skills. So for the skills, we are running Razor Wings. It is our main source of our damage. And then one of the other skills that we're running is Ravager. It'll proc our Jaguar ability much more frequently for the Spirit Hall. And then we are running the Hunter just for extra multipliers. And then we're running Armored Hide. This will grant us our resolve stacks. And then we run Scourge to slow down enemies and get more damage. And then we also can run Vortex or any other skill here. I like Vortex because it pulls in the enemies, but honestly, play whatever you want here. In fact, in some of the earlier gameplays, I was messing around. I was just trying out some other stuff, but I would say Vortex is probably one of the better ones. You'll see me swap to it later, as I was kind of just testing some stuff out. So for the primary Spirit Hall, I personally really like Jaguar, and then I run Gorilla for secondary, so we are immune to all of the crowd control effects because we are going to be unstoppable, which I really do like. You can also run Ebiwaka and then swap these to Gorilla and then Jaguar, but for the most part, that's kind of the go-to for most builds. Or you can run Jaguar, but if you are running Ebiwaka, you definitely want to have the Gorilla in the secondary. So you can run this with several different things. If you want to become an armor stacker, like the one that I'm doing, like I started stacking armor, I got like 6k armor. I didn't even have everything fully masterworked in the gameplay. There's still 4 pieces of gear that are not fully masterworked, but this build, just as a heads up, it's not going to be a high push build for the pit. It's more so for just something to try out, have some fun with it because they buffed it. Now, again, it's not on the same level as like the Quill Volley. If you're like, dude, I want to push the highest, I got that video for you. I will also link it, but this is meant for more so like you can do World Tier 4 content, you can do Nightmare Dungeons, it's pretty smooth, but you actually may not want to scale super high in damage. And the reason why is that if your damage is too high and they get eliminated on the first hit of the Razor Wing, well, then you're not going to be able to get the charges as the thing returns. So that's something that is a little bit interesting with this build. So for starters, we're running Harlequin or Ebiwaka, whatever one that you want to run. There is another variant if you really want to get the Greater Affix cooldown reduction and Triple Masterwork cooldown reduction. That is another option if you do want to try to play like this spin build. But I actually personally prefer the boomerang where it comes out and then it comes right back to you, because the other way it works is it spins around you, but it's so dang slow to hit the target. I really don't like the way it performs, but hey, you can run that one if you want to as well, but just note that you do need Triple Masterwork cooldown reduction, and you need to get a lot more cooldown reduction for that version of the build to actually play. The boomerang one, I think, is just more fun anyways. But let's go over the aspects now. So we got Juggernauts, and again, anywhere that you can get armor, you definitely want to try to get as much armor as possible, because that's how we can deal even more damage. Then we run Redirected Force, just like pretty much all the SpiritBorn builds. There's no plus to Razor Wings, unfortunately, in the glaive category. Normally you'd have like Quill, but as far as Razor Wings, it doesn't exist. But yeah, we're still running Redirected Force, Interdiction, which is pretty much like on every single build, and then Duelist Aspect. Again, a lot of this stuff you'll probably have already. The difference is that like your pants may say plus, you know, ranks to basic skills because you're playing Quill Volley and this is like your older gear. If it has that, don't roll that off. You could just play this build. You don't really need that much damage, as again, it's more for like a fun build and not a push build. But if you want to push for it, then yeah, you definitely want to get dex and armor over having the ranks to basic skills. So this is where it gets a little bit different. As far as our weapon goes, we want to get the aspect of unyielding hits, because when we use a Gorilla skill, which will be our Armor Hide, or if we run it in our primary Spirit Hall, it will always be a Gorilla skill. It just depends on if you want to run Ebiwaka or not, but you do run this skill, which is a Gorilla skill, and then for 3 seconds, you're able to get that huge bonus spike in damage if you do activate it. Again, depends on if you want a lazy play style, just run Gorilla in your primary Spirit Hall. The bosses will take like maybe 2 seconds instead of 1 second. It's not that big of a deal though if you change your primary Spirit Hall, because again, unless you want to go for push. If you're going for push, you definitely want Jaguar, and then Ebiwaka can also be utilized. Or you just have to make sure you're spamming this every single time it's up. And then we run Aspect of Disobedience over here, and on the temper on your rings and in your amulet, you can get extra charges to specifically Razor Wing charges. But for the amulet, we're running Disobedience here, and then we're running Conceited, and then we are also running Edge Masters because we don't spend any resource, so it's always maximum anyways. But yeah, Aspect of Disobedience for even more armor. We had 6k armor in the gameplay. You can push this to probably about 8k. You could go to 10k if you just got like the best masterworking, but I think it's unnecessary. Again, you're seeing the gameplay here, and it's totally fine. Again, as long as you're not trying to do pit 150s, the build will be fine. And then on your rings, you can get bonus to Razor Wing charges. I would say craft those on your rings, and then keep your amulet open for even more damage if you want to, but getting extra total armor, especially getting that greater affix, is really key on your amulet to get even more damage. And then the runes are a little bit different here. We're running Zol and Gar. So what Gar does is give us extra critical strike chance, because without Rada Kipalike, you don't have that 100% like crit and overpower. And this build, you're not going to overpower because you don't spend your resource anyways. And then we run Yul and Q over here, so we're still getting the Bulwark, but we run Yul over here because we're casting a skill with a cooldown. Now, the game is still bugged and broken, unfortunately. Sometimes it counts as a cooldown, sometimes it doesn't, depending on what is reading it, because Jacinth Shell, which is the chest piece, the unique, it doesn't count Razor Wings as a cooldown, but this counts as a cooldown, so I don't know. Hopefully this will be fixed when Season 7 comes out, but this is definitely a fun build for sure. But yeah, Yul, Q, and Zol and Gar are what we're running. And then for the gems, you want the barrier because you get more damage, and then we're running Skulls for even more armor, and then if you want to, you can get resistances, but honestly, it really doesn't matter. SpiritBorn's so OP, you just delete things so fast. Anyways, and with all the shields, you're really not taking any damage. Neo, by the way, is still bugged. It doesn't work, so that would be another thing that I would consider for the build. Hopefully in Season 7, that will be updated as well. But that is going to wrap up the gear and aspects. Let's go and hop into the skill tree. So as far as the skill tree goes, the first 2 points do not matter, and actually it's the first 6 points don't matter because you just have to move down the skill tree. And then what we are going to be getting over here is going to be Vortex. I really like Vortex. You'll see me swap to it later, but I like Vortex. It's pretty cool. If you want to run the other one, it does give you extra like block, but it doesn't really matter too much. But Vortex, quite cool. And then Apex, Focal Point, kind of like all the stuff that you would normally get. Now, Ravager is different. You don't get measured because you don't use a core skill. You instead get the replenishing. This will stack up your Jaguar stacks much faster. And then we also have Fueled over here. And then we get 3 points because the other 2 will be granted with the Keep passive. We get Scourge with Enhanced, which is pretty much normal. You get extra block chance over here, extra HP, and then we get extra movement speed over here. They run Razor Wings, maxing that out. And then if you have your thing count as a Jaguar skill, then these are good. If it's not Jaguar skill, then don't get these. Ebiwaka will give you Jaguar and Gorilla. If not, you just kind of have Gorilla as like, well, it activates when it activates. Then we have Resolution, so we can get even more damage with our ultimate. And then instead of putting 3 points into here, I put 1 point into Sustenance and 1 point into Intricacy. This will make it so upon casting our ultimate, the last defensive focus skill you cast can be cast up to another 1 time for free. If you want to put more points into it, be my guest, but it doesn't really matter. You do enough damage really with this build. And then we get Prodigy's Tempo. Now, interesting enough with this, it counts core or potency, which is cool. Every third consecutive potency skill reduces all the active cooldowns by 10%, and it's increased by 2% for each of the rank. So this will go up even more, which is kind of cool. So you get extra cooldown with that, which is awesome. Now, as far as the Paragon board, it is almost the exact same. The one difference thing that we have to add is we do not need the extra resource with Menagerist. Normally we'd put Menagerist here and we get all the additional resources, but we do not need that. And the reason why we don't need that is because we need a source of vulnerability, because normally Quill will also apply vulnerability, but we don't have access to that. So for starters, we are going to be starting off on Spirit, just like every single SpiritBorn build. And then we go into Sapping with Exploit, and then we go into Vicious Shield and Talon because we're using Eagle skills. And then we go into Convergence, and we get Colossal over here. This is going to give us the bonus damage to close enemies, and it gives us bonus if it is a Gorilla skill. And then we also get Revealing with Fulminate over here, so it's going to do increased lightning damage, and we need this to activate one of the passive bonuses, because unfortunately the game is bugged and the non-physical damage doesn't work towards convergence, but getting the bonus to lightning damage will actually count. So that's why we do that. Otherwise, it would be much better. In fact, hopefully in Season 7, they'll patch out some of these bugs. Sometimes it's going to be worse, though. If some of these bugs get patched, sometimes it's going to be better. It just kind of have to be something we wait and see because, well, to be honest, Diablo 4 is quite a buggy game, and hopefully with these things fixed, it will be a little bit better in some areas, but we will be losing out on all of like the bonus to resolve stacks and all the barriers, so more likely SpiritBorn is going to be a pretty mega nerf. So have fun with this build while you can, and I would say it's probably not going to get hurt that much by the next patch, but it is definitely a fun build. If you guys are interested in something else, this is definitely something that I had fun with it for about an hour, and then you can see I'm actually going to be swapping to Vortex after this. But yeah, I really liked Vortex. Try out Vortex. It's a lot more fun than I was running the other one, just in case we wanted extra block chance, but it didn't really matter. I didn't need the extra block chance. It was just like there was a free skill, and we had something that we could put in. But have some fun with the build, guys. If there's any questions, let me know down below, and I will also pin the other build if you guys are interested in a push build. It's definitely there. But you can see, again, the build doesn't really have any problems with the bosses. It chonks them out pretty fast. You can see the boss is GG'd over there for a Nightmare Dungeon. But again, don't expect to do pit 150s. You may be able to squeeze, like, I'd say 80s is pretty easy for SpiritBorn. You can maybe try doing up to 100, but if you're going to go like way beyond, you can see I'm not even masterworked fully over here. So definitely a good build to have some fun with, and again, it's cool that we get to utilize the newer buffs, and then again, that's the reason why we wanted to play it. But if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here and you want to be up to date on more builds, whether they are meta or not, again, I'll link a more meta one. This is just something that it got buffed, and I wanted to go and try it out, and well, it's kind of more of a fun build at the end of the day, but it can still do all like open world content. If you want to do Nightmare Dungeons, Infernal Hold, like all that stuff, it's totally fine for this build. But anyways, take care, and I'll see you in the next video, and check the pin if you need the planner link. GG's, guys, or link in bio if you're watching us on TikTok.